We invite all of you to stay for a very fascinating and award-winning presentation by the UCLA debate team. One of the things that we have been trying to do during this week is to draw attention to the achievements of the student community at UCLA, and I think that you will find this a very, very interesting and valuable experience. Their presentation is rather unusual for a debate team. It will be a reader's theater, they call it, and I don't wish to go into any further explanation about it because it might destroy some of your anticipation of what is reader's theater. At the conclusion of their presentation, they will be happy to answer questions about the philosophies expressed or mechanical questions about how they got this presentation together. And we'll be on as soon as the set is struck and we have the new one set up. UCLA debate team, Becky Weintraub, Gail Rutten, Melanie Rich, and Royal Oaks.
She is demure, retiring, in some respects almost saintly. Her face suggests a quiet sweetness. The expression in repose is predominantly one of contained sadness. Her voice is always softly modulated, always influenced by a specifically feminine restraint. Her clothes are simple, conservative, neat, and inconspicuously attractive. Posture, tendency to stoop or slump. Movements careful and dignified. Her character is passive, lacking initiative and boldness to formulate strategy of attack. She is an industrious and able worker, also a competent housekeeper and a skillful cook. She loves to read poetry and occasionally composes verse herself.
I know that's what you think, but there are things about me you don't understand.
I understand that you are the keeper of home and family. That makes you happy.
Yes, let me live in a house by the side of the road where the race of men go by. The men who are good and the men who are bad, as good and as bad as I. I would not sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban. Just let me sit in a house at the side of the road and be a friend to man.
I know what I am. I'm just a bitch. As a matter of fact, I know exactly what I am. That alone can explain a great deal about me. I never wanted children. Motherhood's a career in itself. A woman who's married and has children can't be a sex symbol. You may be attractive, but you can't be a sex symbol for the masses, for the world. I carry the sex interest, the love interest, the drama and the humor, and sometimes the tragedy. I'm my own original creation.
Well, I no longer need a man. Until recently, even as I actively struggled for my liberation, it was with a part of me still reserved for men only. I always thought I'd end up living with only one man. I suppose that is still a possibility, but now it is only one of many. Instead of that, I think about living with women, because the emotional and psychological interchange is so satisfying. I have begun to reclaim my body, discovering what it can do, how strong it can be, and how thought is not something that takes place in the mind alone. I no longer see myself through men's eyes, but rather as a healthy person with a lot of endurance and determination that I've never used before.
Wait, which one are you? What do you want?
I don't know.
I want, when summer foliage falls and autumn strips the trees, a house within the city walls, for comfort and for ease. But here as space is somewhat scant, an acre somewhat rare, my house in town I only want to occupy a square. I want a garden and a park, my dwelling to surround 1,000 acres, bless the mark, with walls encompassed round, where fox may range and herds may low, and kids and lambkins play, and flowers and fruits commingled grow, all Eden to display.
I want to sleep with you. Now, tonight, and at any time you may care to call me. I want your naked body, your skin, your mouth, your hands. I want you coldly and consciously, without dignity and without regrets. I want you. I have no self-respect to bargain with me and divide me. I want you like an animal, or a cat on a fence, or a whore.
I want the liberation of all human beings. The struggle for the liberation of woman must be part of the larger fight for freedom. I recognize the difficulty my sisters will have in dealing with male chauvinism, and I assume my full responsibility as a woman in helping to resolve that contradiction.
I'm confused. You seem a contradiction.
You don't know me.
I thought I knew you.
You don't.
You think I love to read poetry and occasionally compose verse myself.
You think I'm demure, retiring, in some respects almost saintly.
You think I'm passive, lacking initiative and boldness to formulate a strategy of attack. Yet none of this is really me. It's as if they are fighting against each other so one dominates.
Fighting? I don't see any conflict.
That's part of the problem. You don't see.
He was aware of a teasing merriment in her eyes. Pouting her lips at his intent face, she took a few buoyant steps forward and casually sat on the arm of his chair. For a moment, she softly hummed a light tune, rocking one small foot in time with the beat. Silent again, she suddenly nudges his shoulder with her hand. "How you doing, boy?" she asked. Like an energetic kitten that has lots to do, she was up, and an instant later had swung with a strong, supple step to the phonograph across the room and was putting on a record. Turning toward her companion, she stood for a few seconds, her shoulders and hips responding just perceptibly and perfectly to the rhythm. She was a lush apparition pulsating with energy. Catching and holding his glance with bold, bright eyes, her whole face lit with a fresh, inviting smile. "Come on, boy," she urges softly. "Dance with me."
A young woman is walking down a city street. She is excruciatingly aware of her appearance and of the reaction to it of every person she meets. She walks through a group of construction workers who are eating lunch in a line along the pavement. Her stomach tightens with terror and revulsion. Her face becomes contorted into a grimace of self-control and fake unawareness. Her walk and carriage become stiff and dehumanized. No matter what they say to her, it will be unbearable. She knows that they will not physically assault her or hurt her. They will only do so metaphorically. What they will do is impinge on her. They will demand that her thoughts be focused on them. They will use her body with their eyes. They will make her a participant in their fantasies without asking if she is willing. They will make her feel ridiculous, or grotesquely sexual, or hideously ugly. But above all, they will make her feel like a thing. We must get our stuff together, begin to dismantle this system's deadly social and military toys, and stop the mad dogs who rule us in every place we're at.
You know, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor act too wise.
"You fool."
The essential factor in the liberation of the married woman is understanding her condition. She must know her enemies, the doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, marriage counselors, priests, health visitors, and popular moralists. She must analyze her buying habits, her day-to-day evasions and dishonesties, her suffering and her real feelings toward her children, her past and her future. Oh, woman, leave your fetters in the past. Rise and claim your birthright and be free at last. Mother, wife, and maiden, in your hands great power lies.
Two things are wanted by the true man, danger and play. Therefore he seeketh woman as the most dangerous toy.
Let man fear woman when she loveth, for she will sacrifice everything for her love, and her to all else appeareth worthless.
Let man fear woman when she hateth, for in the hearth of their heart, man is only evil.
Well, I've liked boys for as long as I can remember. When I was 12, I'd have about 6 of them around me and we'd kiss. But I didn't know I had this sex personality.
A sex personality? That demanded you to learn to sit with your legs crossed even when your feet couldn't touch the floor yet. That demanded being agonized at 14 because you finally shaved your legs and your flesh was on fire. A sex personality? That had you swinging down the street feeling good and smiling at people and being hassled like a piece of meat in return. And then finally screwing. And your groin and thighs and buttocks ached like hell and you were all wet and maybe bloody. That wasn't like a Hollywood movie at all. But Jesus, at least you weren't a virgin anymore. Is that what it's all about?
You know, you make a hard life for yourself when you allow your tongue to get the better of you. Not only this, but you make it unpleasant for others as well. She who learns to curb her tongue and to keep back the quick words that wound and hurt others has gained a noble victory, a victory over self. Learn forbearance. It will help you all through the journey of life. Avoid contentions. They only make hard feelings.
But we're a subjugated caste. We need to develop a female movement. Most importantly, because we must fight this social order with all the faculties we've got and with those in full gear. And we must be liberated so that we can turn from our separate domestic desperation, our own apocalypse of the damned, toward an exercise of social rage.
But who will do the cooking for the child who still comes home for lunch? Who will nurse the babies or take care of the preschool child? Who will cook for the man when he comes home from work? Who will wash and clean and take care of things? I am admired because I do these things well. I cook, sew, knit, work, talk very well. So I am a valuable item. Without me, you would suffer.
And with him, you were alone. You were as solitary as eternity and as stupid as clotted cream.
But that's what I want.
That's not what I want.
That's not what I want. I always wanted to be a lion tamer. Lions, the most beautiful of all the animals. So massive. I just wanted to hug them when my father took me to the zoo. But I became a man tamer instead.
But man is the hunter. Woman is his game. You're here for my pleasure.
Although he doesn't know it, I have attended his funeral several times. Each time I looked adorable in my black tight-fitting suit and Spanish lace veil. And each time, after a decent period has elapsed, I have remarried a very rich man and become famous for the ethereal look on my beautiful pale face.
But it's the bee that goes from flower to flower, tasting of its sweetness, not the flower from bee to bee.
I don't remember how many lovers I've had. There were so many. I was never interested in the score, though. Only the game. It's not the men in my life that count. It's the life in my men.
There is nothing enduring in life for a woman except what she builds in a man's heart.
Women, for the most part, do not love men. I do not choose a man because I love him, but because it pleases me to be loved by him. I love love of all things in the world, but there are very few men whom I love personally. One of my first affairs was with a virgin, though he was well into his 20s. Very shy. I initiated him and found it fascinating teaching him things, but I understand he's lived in celibacy ever since.
But a chaste woman is the perfect workmanship of God, the true glory of angels, the rare miracle of earth and the sole wonder of the world.
The glory of woman is her family.
Children, look in her eyes. Listen to her dear voice. Notice the feeling of even a single touch that is bestowed upon you by her gentle hand. Make much of it while you have that most precious of all good gifts, a loving mother. In afterlife you may friends find, dear friends, but never again will you have the inexpressible love and gentleness lavished upon you, which none but a mother bestows.
What is a home? A roof to keep out the rain, 4 walls to keep out the wind, floors to keep out the cold. Yes, but a home is more than that. It is the laugh of a baby, the song of a mother, the strength of a father. Home is first school and first church for young ones, where they learn what is good, what is right, and what is kind, where they go for comfort when they are hurt or sick, where joy is shared and sorrow eased, where fathers and mothers are respected and loved, where children are wanted, where even the tea kettle sings from happiness, for that is a home. God bless it.
We've lived together 40 years, dear wife, and walked together side by side. And you today are just as dear as when you were my bride. I've tried to make life glad for you, one long, sweet honeymoon of joy, a dream of marital content without the least alloy. I've smoothed all boulders from our path, that we in peace might toil along, but always hasten to admit that I was right and you were wrong.
My husband is my Lord, my life, my keeper, my head, and my sovereign, one that cares for me, and for my maintenance commits his body to painful labor both by land and sea, to watch the night in storms, the day in cold, while I liest warm at home, safe and secure, and craves no other tribute at my hands but love, fair looks, and true obedience.
Too little payment for so great a debt. Such duty as the subject owes the prince, even such a woman oweth her husband. And when she is forward, peevish, sullen, sour, and not obedient to his honest will, what is she but a foul contending rebel, and graceless traitor to her loving lord?
Look, no amount of preachings or exhortation will render the condition of woman to what it should be, so long as the needle and the kitchen are substantially her only resource.
Frailty, thy name is woman. You women need men to protect you, to warm you, to keep you fed, clothed, happy. You need us to reproduce.
It is now technically possible to reproduce without the aid of males, and to produce only females. We must begin immediately to do so. The male is a biological accident. The Y, male gene, is an incomplete X or female gene. That is an incomplete set of chromosomes. In other words, the male is an incomplete female, a walking abortion, aborted at the gene stage.
But a woman has a duty to her husband and children. That cannot be ignored.
I have another duty just as sacred, my duty to myself. I believe that before everything else, I am a human being just as much as you are. Or at any rate, I shall try to become one. Oh, I realize that most people would agree with you and that you have a warrant for it in books. But I can't be satisfied any longer with what most people say and with what's in books. I must think things out for myself and understand them.
But a woman, if she wants to, can work and find herself now. That is not something new.
Oh, yeah. She can work and find that almost all jobs open to her pay less for harder work than men. That she's bugged by men in the office who assume she's a virginal prude if she doesn't flirt, or that she's an easy mark if she's halfway relaxed and pleasant. Or she becomes a woman executive, for God's sake, and then is asked to order the delicatessen food for the office parties.
What is it you want? I hear 3 voices from the same person.
I want to be a mother.
A lover. A person.
That's impossible. You can't be all 3.
But I want to be all 3.
No, I should be married. Marriage enlarges the scene of our happiness. A marriage of love is pleasant, of interest easy, and where both meet
No.
happy.
Sex is all that matters.
All the pleasures
Sex
of
has become one of the most
all the
discussed
enjoyments
subjects of modern
family,
times.
and all
The
the
Victorians
pleasures of
pretended
life.
it did not exist.
The moderns pretend that nothing else exists.
No, the individual is the most important thing. The individual must be free, able to develop to the utmost of her ability, employing all opportunities that confront her for her own welfare. Otherwise, she's merely a cog in a machine.
No, the family is important. God sends children for another purpose than merely to keep up the race, to enlarge our hearts and to make us unselfish and full of kindly sympathies and affection.
No, I want pure desire. Desire is the essence of man. The thirst of desire is never filled nor fully satisfied. Nothing is far, nothing is near if one desires. The world is little, human life is little.
No, I want freedom. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. A free life is the only life worthy of a human being.
No.
That which is not free is not responsible. No, that which is not responsible is not moral. In other words, freedom
Stop!
is...
You can't keep fighting within yourselves.
But I have to.
Why? Why do you have to keep fighting?
Because I am three different people.
3 different people?
Because I needed security, you made me dependent upon you.
You knew I had physical desires, and you used me for your own pleasures.
You were insensitive to me as a person, and now I am bitter and you are confused.
And I have to live with you.
But I have to live with myself.
But I don't think I can live with you.
I don't think I could live with you.
Look, it's not as if we can go our own way. We're stuck with each other. But maybe we can help each other.
Do you think we can actually help her find security without dependence?
Do you think we can help her find something besides simple physical pleasure?
Do you think we can help her to learn to love again?
I don't think we can. We're so different.
I think we have to try.
Is it possible for a woman to become one after being 3 for so long?
Maybe we can.
Maybe we can.
Maybe we can. If you have any questions about the Reader's Theater or about, what we've said or anything, we'd be, glad to hear them. Yeah? Well, the script is a compilation of poems, thoughts, words, stories from a variety of sources ranging from Shakespeare to Kate Millett to Norman Mailer to Fidel Castro. One of the poems is by President John Adams. We just sort of went through various books that looked like they might have something in it. The man who coached us when we were putting this thing together is in the audience. I'd like to recognize him. Jim Urich. Would Jimmy stand up? Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're always willing to do it. Urich. Thank you.